first start with public comment. I'd like to recognize any resident or taxpayer in this area school district wishing to address the board about title programming or any other matter, concern, or interest properly raised in public session. Please state your name and address, and comments will be kept to 3 minutes.
Working.
Might have to use your cheerleader voice.
Try again. She just turned that on.
Better now?
Down the bottom.
No.
Hold on just a second, bottom of it.
I don't loud.
No, this probably picks up.
There it is.
I wouldn't get too close.
Are we good?
Yep.
There you go.
Okay. My name is Tricia Huey, North Keystone Avenue. Members of the board, on January 9th during a regular work session board meeting, Dr. Delosio was approved for a not to exceed budget of $2,250 for a conference in San Antonio, Texas. After my review of the bills for payment posted with the agenda on the school district website on line 40 is a travel expense for the Marriott River Center for $2,917. The line item is vague. However, after some research, I am under the impression this is the same conference Dr. Delosio was approved for in January. In addition to line item 40, line item 58 indicates another travel expense for $39.76 in San Antonio for what I can assume would be the same conference. Can a member of the board please explain why the budget for this trip was over allocated? Also, where the additional $706.76 is coming from to cover the overspend. And if this was an oversight, I would expect it to be corrected, and Dr. Delosio would be responsible for covering the exceeded amount. Any comments would be greatly appreciated.
So there were two different things. I had to attend a conference on Thursday and Friday, and I was also approved to take coursework. I was down there for the National Superintendents Report, so that was the first 3 days of the week versus the last 2 days. So I can get those numbers for you. Some of that comes out of tuition money.
Okay, that was my next question, is where it came from. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Can I just follow up? Mrs. Huey,
Mrs. Huey?
do you want to break down to those 2 different days and I can send
That'd
that
be
to
great.
you? Or I can present it at the next board meeting?
Either way would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Please state your name and your address.
Amy Chilson, Pennsylvania Avenue, Sayre, PA. I'm here because I want to speak up for our seniors for this year. I feel that our seniors have been big time shortchanged. They have not had a single senior activity. It's been brought up to administration. I know administration attended a meeting with the seniors today, but I want it brought up to the board and possibly followed up on to make sure that our poor seniors get something besides what the parents are planning. There is a group of about 7 parents that are planning the all-night graduation party, so that is not on school at all, and I've heard comments from our seniors that that's probably going to be the only activity they're going to have, and I think that's sad.
We will definitely look into that. Thank you very much.
You don't need to classify it.
We want to do those. Anyone else? I know before I get started in the regular meeting, we have the basketball team. Mr. Klinkman?
Yep, so tonight we have members of the small school NTL championship Sayre area high school basketball team with us. They performed really well this season, went 9-1 in small school, won the championship. Decisive win was a overtime victory at Canton, give them inside track on the championship, which then they clinched that night. Just a little bit of background, that is the first championship for boys basketball since 1975. So that's pretty impressive when you put it in context. Overall record was 500-ish, but when you look small school, those are the schools that we're competing with day in, day out. They really came, they put it together and did very well as a team. You know, this is a group. I read several times throughout the season that, Jackson, Hubbard had mentioned that they came in far better than anybody predicted for them this year. I think that's a tribute to the kids on the team. I think it's a tribute to the coaching staff and everybody involved, kids, parents. They worked their butts off from day one and continued to work through the season. It was pretty fun to see them gel as a spectator, somebody that was at, many of the games. I know that the coaches kind of related that as well. They were very pleased with the way it turned out. And one of the things that we've started talking about in the past year here at SARE is not development of teams, but development of programs, as Coach Blythe will say basically anytime you talk to him. We had a senior banquet an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, and it's really, Jackson, Zach Garrity, Will Trump, Wesley Kelsey, fifth senior. Oh, Patrick Shaw, yep. On the boys' side, they put together, something now that the kids coming up behind can follow and shoot for. They're gonna, and they're already, some of them in the gym working out, in the weight room working out, so that's impressive to see. Not just for the boys, but on the girls' side, the seniors there kind of did, the same thing, building the program back up to spot where it once was. So just really want to applaud the kids on the team one more time for the team effort. Also want to throw a couple of personal kudos out to Jackson Hubbard, who this year achieved 1,000 points for a season. So I can't remember how many kids that makes from Sarah that are 100-point scorers, but I can tell you that since we won our last championship, there's been 11, so to put in context. Again, no small achievement there. Jackson also set the single season scoring record for a single game, so he scored 56 points in a game. That was the Sarah record, so again, another impressive feat. And I feel comfortable talking about that stuff because it's a team effort, and I'm sure Jackson would say that. Yeah, he's the one maybe putting the ball in the hole, but that's because the other guys on the team are getting it to him, creating openings for him. He's doing the same for them, so it all goes around. And Jackson, again, as you may or may not remember, won a Max Preps Athlete of the Week award a few weeks back. I think that was, I can't remember, I think it was, that was off the 56 at Williamston just before the 1,000. And for the season, he was the, according to Max Preps, he was the number 8 scorer in the state. He finished averaging 25.75 points per game and scored 618 points for the season. And again, those sound like individual efforts, but that doesn't happen without a team to work with and to, work through that. So one more time, congratulations, guys. Great job. Good luck, Jackson, moving forward. I know ball season, baseball started tonight, right? Coach, you have anything to add, or?
No, just thank you for the support from the board, the school members. Donnie, James, we see you guys in some games this year, and support from the board and the staff means a lot. Seeing you guys in the crowd and knowing that the kids are gaining that support from the school board, administration, teachers, seeing people in the stands that not only educate these kids on a daily basis, but support them after school is something that needs to continue to grow. So thank you guys for that support.
I would like to say too, our fourth graders won the NTL championship in Towanda this past Saturday. And they won 3 straight games, so they won the title. So congratulations to all of them.
I won't embarrass the person, but we do have another 1,000-point scorer sitting in this audience.
Stand up. Okay.
So you wouldn't have anything else? Congratulations, gentlemen, again, on a good job, an awesome job. All right, so moving on with the regular agenda. For our consent agenda, we have the minutes, instruction, including a field trip request, District volunteers, athletics, including athletics and recreation personnel, finance, including the bills, the Jewel settlement, personnel, and that's it for the regular consent agenda. We have a motion? And a second, Ms. Clements? Or, oh, sorry, Ms. Riley? Any discussion? Dr. Delosio, can you let everybody know about the Jewel settlement?
Sure. So we have received documentation from the attorney that the board hired for the Cape class of action. And we had received documentation last week for the board to review, take tonight. And so for the settlement, give me a second, I'll look through these exhibits. So there are many districts across the U.S. that are a part of it. The plaintiff leadership negotiated a total gross government entity settlement fund with Jewel for $555 million. And once we get down to each entity in its own, I'm looking for the max payout. It's under 10, do you remember it to be?
Oh, yeah, for us, yeah, it's,
I just want to find the exact amount to
It's
report
like
out.
8,000
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah.
8,300 or something like that.
Just not popping up right in front of me.
It's eight something.
It's 8,000.
Roughly $8,000. Out of the $550 million, there
8260,
gets a
Dr.
total
Jill.
about
There it is. See, I knew if I just keep looking, I would find it. $8,325. Next time we'll have that marked.
Yep,
Ready to
right.
go. The occupational? Yeah, I have it on my list.
Yeah.
Now, would you like me to?
Well, it's part of-
that
Yeah, go ahead.
as a personnel?
Agenda.
So if you notice too, on the personnel, we are hiring our own occupational therapist. We as a district have contracted for occupational therapy services for multiple years, and Dr. Tejan has kept a very close eye on that. Most recently, we had contracted for 4.5 days of services across the 5-day work week, and she found it to be more beneficial to have it in-house since we're almost at 5 full days. And so she will work with that occupational therapist if board approved tonight to do additional services for like our kindergarten teachers and the first grade teachers during time, maybe during power hour or centers time when they have, Molly has that repertoire coming from a school district in the New York area. She's applied for. She is a Sayre grad, that's on the list there tonight. She graduated about 10 years ago from Sayre. So that's why the transition from contract services over to in-house. Okay.
Any further discussion? On the consent agenda?
No discussion.
Okay.
When we're done, we'll make a comment.
All right, so if there's no discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
I would just like to say, Mr. Trini, that one of the football coaches that just approved is here tonight, Mr. Jared Raymond.
Mr. Raymond? Congratulations and thank you very much for being part of our team. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. All right, so moving on with board discussion, the Litchfield property. So, we did have some discussion earlier about property in our exec session this evening, about Litchfield. had 5 bids.
That's correct. You're ready to go. Pass that my way.
So we had 5 bids total. We had 2 bids from the same bidder. His first bid was $246,400. He would like to restore the building if possible, otherwise tear down the building, and secure perk and profiles for future housing. At the $246,000 range, he will let the district keep the mineral rights of that property. The second bid was $318,000, and that was for the whole thing. So he wanted to offer the district $318,000, and that included the mineral rights, so we didn't have any of that. The third bid we had was for $180,000. It came with a 50-50 split of the mineral rights for the school district. It also offered for usage a full-time environmental center open up to the public. They were looking for a partnership between the district wanting to help this full-time environmental center for the kids in the district. Bid 4 didn't discuss the mineral rights. It was a purchase price of $35,000. Only included, and it also included a $5,000 donation to the Booster Club, and that was just to restore the building for apartments. They only wanted 5 acres. They didn't want the whole 90 acres. They only wanted 5 acres in the building. The fifth bid was for $316,000. The district retained the rights to the mineral, and they want to use the property as to host catered community events, while continuing some capacity of the trails and the picnic areas open to the general public. So those were the 5 bids we had. We'll discuss them.
People at home said they can't hear. I don't know if it's an issue.
You guys hear me all right?
No, online.
Online?
This one, is that plugged in or is it, just bring it forward? That's right in front of
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure your microphone's on either, Dr. Joe.
Yours?
This is why I sit next to him.
You're welcome to bring a chair up.
I'm gonna have to.
You're both gonna sit up here.
Well, hopefully they can hear me now. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. So with that, I guess we'll open up the board for discussion.
I believe bid number 3 is the best usage to keep our kids involved in it.
I'll just comment, I looked across all the options, and kind of went through the thought process of, what can and how can the district benefit holistically, both for our students, both financially and opportunity. And when we look at what bid 3, and that's the conservation district, one, we don't yet today have a comprehensive plan on how we would get engaged in that, and so we have some effort to do that. But more importantly, our community at large, I'll say within the 20-mile radius, we have a lot of areas that have opportunity for conservation center activity. Tanglewood Nature Center, Mount Pisgah Waterman Conservation Center. We have one that we haven't maintained at Snyder as a possibility. So we have options there, and I guess I look at having those options and then looking at the bid value. I would tend to lean, and personally, I look at bid 5 as the most attractive. One, it opens up a new business opportunity for the community. Two, it's value to us day one. Three, it's long-term value to us in some recurring tax benefit. And four, we have the opportunity to use that money if we desire to use some of these conservation resources we have in the area, or as in other ways that we see fit. So that's my perspective.
Mr. Katrini?
Mr. Shaw, go ahead.
My comment is, I'm for bid number 2, because that's the highest bid. If we wanted to keep the center open and the mineral rights, well, then we should just keep it, in my opinion. We shouldn't just sell it. I think it should go the highest bidder, and that's my opinion.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have any comment? Sure, Mr. Riley?
Dr. DeLucio, is there any negative to us not having this property and in relation to the grants that we've received recently?
So in connection to the grants, so currently we're in a grant with the NOE for the MIWI, for the Meaningful Watershed experiences that we have, and we are planning to utilize our time there. Can it be moved somewhere else? It would just be something I'd have to work with the grant writers to probably amend a grant to make a shift if it becomes a part of somebody else's, property. So I don't know that in the sense of absolutely would negate us from keeping the grant. The grant we're partnered with is the actual IU is the owner of the grant, and they partnered with us.
Thank you.
Sure.
Are there other properties that could offer the opportunities to fulfill the vision of that grant?
So Mrs. Aisling is online, and she asked if there was other opportunities for us to fulfill that grant. And the answer to that is yes, in the sense that the administrative team, when we first got MIWI last year, we had our experience at Mount Pisgah, which is, several miles down the road, up over East Smithfield, right? So we did have that opportunity there as an administrative team for our training of the MIWI.
Does anybody have anything else?
I do want to also add that if we decide to go with the highest bidder, I said number 5 is the highest bid. Because number 5 is not including mineral rights.
Did you hear?
That's so that people know.
So, Ms. Alsing stated that if she went with the highest bid, she would go with number 5, even though there's $2,000 between number
Or 2 and 5.
number 2 and 5, but she says the mineral rights, she believes the mineral rights are worth much more than the $2,000 the other gentleman is offering, so she would, in her opinion, number 5 is the highest bid. Me personally, I struggle between 2 and 5, 3 and 5, thank you, Mr. Cole. I know what the Conservation District proposed earlier on as a partnership between the Sarah School District and themselves to offer a science center for the children in this community, which I think would be a great opportunity for our kids. But I also wonder what $315,000 or $316,000 would do for this district right now. Moving forward, money that would come in from that and how that would help this district, in the future. So, and what we would do with those monies for our children. So I think either one would be the best benefit. So I really struggle between those two of them right now. That's just me. Because I want, and I know the rest of this board does too, we want what's best for our children in this community, so.
Jill, do we need to, at the end of this discussion, do we need to create a motion? Is that what we need?
Well, we have to
Sure,
create a
so
motion
if-
that, oh, I'm sorry, I
No,
didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay.
I know we need to
Apologies.
create a motion to change the agenda,
Oh.
to add it to,
Okay.
if that's what we decide to do.
Yeah, so if the board makes a final decision tonight, we'll have to do 2 motions. One to amend the agenda under the new Sunshine Act, and then the second will be to add in a motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure there's no other comment.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's what I'm kinda, if the board, I mean, it's not really a public meeting, but I do know we have some members of the community here that, any of you guys wanna weigh in on what we think we should do? I mean, I went to the community, you know, in my district, or not my district, in my town, where I live in South Waverly, and I've talked to some people, and they didn't really have an opinion one way or another. Yeah, so if anybody would like to talk about it, address the board, please come to the mic, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
All right.
Give your name and address.
Paul Blythe, Keystone Avenue. Going back to the first board meeting I came to, you guys talked about not having students, not having taxpayer dollars, right? That's a delineated wetland, and it's also a preserve. You're not going to drill there. Your mineral rights mean nothing, okay? They're not gonna directional drill from somebody else's property. They're not gonna go down and collect it. That stuff doesn't happen. 20 years in the oil field, I know exactly what I'm talking about, because I did that stuff forever. I had to mark that stuff out for 20 years of my life. If you have a chance to put 40 houses out there, and each one of those houses has 1 or 2 kids in it, that grows your school district overnight. Also raises your tax revenue, which is things that we're looking for, and puts $318,000, or whatever that number is, immediately in your budget. Would it be nice to have a conservation area for kids? Absolutely, but we have so many places around here that these kids can go out and explore the woods, get muddy in the creek. You probably have to throw some cell phones in a garbage can before that happens, but we could do that with other options. With $318,000 up front, the ability to build some housing that we desperately need, not only from a taxpayer standpoint, but just from growing our school district standpoint. I think the option with, I believe it's number 2, is the best one. Find a good contractor that can put some housing out there, grow your guys' district, grow our tax base, bring some new kids into the area, and benefit the school for a long term versus just a short term.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Should I say something? I just wanna clarify. We can say that that's their plan, but we don't know for sure that that's what they're gonna do either. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true, we don't have a
no
crystal ball with
guarantee
any of these
that
bids.
They're gonna actually do that.
Right, but what's it worth to you now?
Right, I'm not saying, I just share it. We don't know,
Oh.
that's what they say they're gonna do. We don't know that that's actually what they're gonna do.
There's a lot of contract work you can do.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? You can make contingencies in your contract to sell the property.
Anyone else?
So Tammy Seddon, I'm Cotton Hollow Road, I'm actually the property directly across from the school. So while I hear what you're saying for growing the school district, that's, everyone is agreement upon that. But housing again impacts us directly as a family owner of the property and things like that. And certain types of businesses will also affect us directly. You know, we don't want the increase of traffic. That's our family stand. Yes, we are one house, but it affects the whole road. It affects everything every day. And out there, all we have is terrible internet. So things for children with online learning, things like that, the opportunity is not there for them that way either. And I know that because my kids go through it. It's, you know, we don't have a lot of options out there for them for those good things, but that's besides the point. But just, I know my family as a whole will be impacted directly, and we don't want to see big business or a bunch of houses because we don't know what those houses are going to be. They could be low income, which brings crime. I come from Philadelphia. I know these things. And money talks. So no matter what, the highest bid sometimes win, and it's not for everybody. It's only for the immediate people. It will affect me and my family, not just you guys. You may not live there, but we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Diane Lamana, Lee Road, Sayre. I have to agree with her, and I'm speaking from my heart. It's not always about the money. But this is where we live, and if they put low-income housing out there, it is gonna ruin Litchfield. It really is. It's a great place to live. The community center would be awesome. That's just my thought.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Malone. Anyone else?
didn't realize till Mr. Blythe just said that conceivably we can't drill there, right, the mineral rights?
Yeah, the likelihood of you getting a permit to drill in a wetland or a preserve is pretty slim, especially when you have a governor like we have right now. So the chances of that happening are slim to none. And, it would be pretty hard to convince somebody to let you drill right there.
Thank you. And then there are two comments that live there and they would be directly affected. Then if we're going with their opinion, then I say we just keep the property then, don't sell it. Because we can't control what's gonna go in there, no matter who we sell it to, right? You already said, we don't have a crystal ball.
We don't have a crystal ball.
They might just sit there and do nothing.
I agree with that part of it, yes.
If we do keep it
Might
though,
better keep it
oh, I'm
if
sorry.
you don't know.
If we do keep it though, we have to get rid of the building and what was that cost? 200?
285.
285 was roughly the cost of demolishing the building.
That was a year ago, sir.
A year ago, right, and who knows what that number would be today.
Keeping it's not really the best interest of our student body right now, though.
No, I think I agree with that. We gotta do what's best for our student body today.
It's a challenging decision. And that's why it's been on the docket for a long period of time.
If we keep that building, who's gonna do the?
Sorry, up to the mic, Ms. Romberg.
Sorry, I usually have a big voice. So my concern is, and I'm a Litchfield resident as well, we can't predict what's gonna happen. Currently though, we're getting nothing out of it. So I'm not really against keeping it or selling it, but the current building looks atrocious. Like, I was out there for the Apple Fest, there's weeds above the store, like above the roof of the building. It's falling down and dilapidated. So keeping it, I don't think is not gonna cost us anything. It's gonna cost us a good chunk because you can't let it deteriorate like that.
No, you're right, and we have to get.
And to live across the street from that, you have a very nice home. I don't think I'd want that eyesore in my front
I
yard.
actually go over and do maintain some of it myself.
And you shouldn't have to. If
But
the
that-
district
I'd
owns it,
rather
we should
do that
maintain it.
Than have it sit and nothing be done to it, and that's fine that I volunteer my time, I'm not looking for any kudos.
But you're not
Just
gonna be able to
because-
fix a building and haul it away when it's collapsing in itself, so.
Oh, no.
What is the plan if we keep that so that it's not an eyesore in the community and take the value away from the properties that are there because it's falling in on top of itself? Like,
But
what is the
also,
plan?
With that being said, what will happen if it's low income housing to our property value?
Sure, sure.
It's the same thing.
But what happens if it's a high-end housing development? You don't know
That's
that.
not gonna happen here, let's be real.
I
We
don't
have
know.
a lot of people that can't afford things either, you know what I mean?
But I know that we are landlocked currently, and there are tons of people that are looking for property, because we get approached all of the time to sell some, and there is nowhere to purchase or to buy, which would create a better tax base, but it's a gamble. And we can't control that, but if we're keeping it, what are we gonna do so that it's in a better state than it currently is?
Thank you, Mr. Romberg. All right,
Mr. Petrie, I just have one last comment. Of all these bids, only one is gonna tear down the structure, right?
That's okay.
Only one bid is gonna tear down the structure, which is number 2.
I think they, two of them said to try to save the building with a rehab. And if they couldn't tear it down. You're welcome.
If they can't restore, they're gonna tear it down. They're the only one that said that. Bid number 5 does not say that, nor does the,
But if they restore
Bid
it, it's
number
also
3.
now not an eyesore, so. A private citizen versus the school district has a lot more options with the build for a lot less money than we have to pay to do that.
discussion.
The thing that's lacking, I mean, if we step back again, right, and, creates another set of uncertainties, but it also puts a burden on us, because if we step back, we then need to come up with a strategic plan for that property. We need to spend time and seriously consider what would we, if we're gonna keep that property, what are we gonna do with that property? And have a solid plan to determine that's really what we wanna do. And we haven't done that to this point. Or it
How many
hasn't been
times
brought
have
forward to
I
this.
talked about a sport, another sports to do their practices and stuff?
It's 15 minutes away though. It's, I mean, that's a bus, that's a bus,
What's 15 minutes?
that's a bus
East
trip.
Shore, what they're doing is a lot further.
It's a
than
bus
that.
trip for every practice.
So Skirbo, if I could add on to what you just said, that as a school district, then we would have to do one of two things, right? You're either going to level it, which we know is just under 300,000 with the bid from a year ago.
Right.
Because we as a district would have to pay the prevailing wage, right? Different than a single entity, an individual owner. And if we were to maintain it or try to rehab it, we would have to bring it to ADA compliance.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Which we
Yeah.
could guess about the cost.
Just two of the options that are on the table, and I'm very much on board relative to land availability in this district. So from a housing perspective, it's really lacking. On the other hand, so there's one that talks specifically about housing. There's another that talks about turning it into a venue, right? So a wedding venue, so bringing in, you know, so those are really, from my perspective, from a overall value to the district, the two that are on the table that provide value. And it's hard to pick which one when you don't know exactly what somebody's gonna do. But I think that's where we are.
I think we can't delay this any further.
Yeah.
I think we need to, get it on the agenda. That could be a motion if we're done discussing.
I'll second that. Was that a motion to get it on the agenda?
So if we're done discussing,
Oh.
does anybody have any other comment?
So we'd have to have which bid to take a vote upon that before we motion to amend the agenda.
Yep.
I'll motion for bid 5.
So she's
I'll
gonna
second
amend it.
that.
So we have a motion to change the agenda.
So can I go ahead and read? So, we'd recommend the board approve to amend the agenda this evening.
Okay.
You need a first and a second.
Motion.
So we have a motion by Mr. Cole
Second.
and a second by Mr. Skirpon. Any discussion? All in favor to change the agenda?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One abstention, Mrs. Agnew. Motion carries.
So what bid?
We can make motions now?
Well, so now, yep, so now we can make a motion for the bid.
I make a motion for bid number 2.
So you have a motion for bid number 2 by Mr. Shaw.
I'll read it off.
Yep.
Okay. Recommend the board approve bid number 2 for the sale of Litchfield property inclusive of 90.241 acres with the former Litchfield Elementary School inclusive of that property.
So we have a motion, do we have a second? Not hearing a second. Motion fails. So do we have another motion for another bid? Ms. Alsing, did you have a motion for bid number 5?
Yeah, I'll motion for bid 5.
So we have a motion for bid 5.
Second.
Oh, we're good. Dr.
I'll
Delo's just
read it
gonna.
so that,
Oh,
so
sorry.
that Deb has it correctly.
Yep.
Recommend the board approve bid number 5 for the sale of our Litchfield property inclusive of 90.241 acres with the former Litchfield Elementary School inclusive of that property.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Motion by Ms. Alsing, second by Mr. Skirpon. Any discussion on bid number 5?
And again, this is to put it on for the this is for the actual bid, correct?
We're bidding to award, we're voting on awarding the bid, number 5.
And just so that everyone is clear, bid number 5 is $316,000, and the district retains their mineral rights.
So not hearing any discussion, can we get a roll call? Mrs. Pacheco?
Yes. Will we begin with Mrs. Agnew?
No.
I'm sorry, did
She
you say
said no.
No.
Ms. Olson? Yes. Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Yes for Mr. Cole?
Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Yes for Mr. Hickey?
Thank you. Mrs. Clements?
Yes.
Yes for Mrs. Kmetz?
Mrs. Riley?
Yes.
Yes for Mrs. Riley?
Mr. Shaw?
No.
No for Mr. Shaw?
Mr. Skirpon?
Yes.
Yes for Mr. Skirpon?
And Mr. Petrini?
And I would like to abstain for conflict.
All right, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstention.
So we have 6 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstention. Motion carries. So we will award the bid to number 5.
Claypool will reach out tomorrow.
All right, so Dr. Delosio and Mr. Claypool are going to reach out to that gentleman tomorrow. Thank you very much. So, moving on to the rest of our agenda, high school principals report.
Good evening, everyone. We have a parent informational meeting coming up next Monday night for parents of students in 8th grade. We're going to discuss course selection credits, graduation project way down the road, and NTCC offerings. So any 8th grade parent that wants to come out Monday night at 5 will be in the auditorium, Mrs. Schaefer and I, to talk about whatever comes up that evening. I just wanted to give a brief update on our Suite 360 program that we're using here at the high school. So we're successfully using that pretty much on a weekly basis. It's online lessons to help enforce discipline infractions through a process of restorative practice. These lessons are infraction specific, and they focus on reflection, learning, and self-regulation for students. I think Mr. Claypool spoke briefly. He said earlier this evening we had a winter athlete recognition event for seniors for both boys and girls basketball and cheer. And this is going to be followed up this Friday afternoon with a pep rally here at the high school and a very exciting student versus staff basketball game. And lastly, I just wanted to give a big congrats to a group of students who went to Mountain View High School today. So Ms. Heller took 8 junior high students along with the senior high school officers to Mountain View today for the middle school regional conference for FBLA. And our students competed against 2 other local chapters, and I'm super excited to report that all 8 of our junior high students placed in their events today. So we had 1 student place in 3rd, 1 student placed in 2nd, and we had 6 students that placed 1st in their respective events. So that's pretty exciting. Congrats to all of them. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lee. Mrs. Morrell? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Howie, anything? All right. Didn't mean to skip you.
Still have a chance. So before I get started, I'd just like to introduce, I'm sure Dr. Delosio was going to do this before we got started, so Molly Robinson is here to join us this evening, so she can say.
Robinson, our new
And Sarah graduate.
Yes.
Is she the basketball scorer?
Yes. I knew she was the basketball star, yes, as well. You should have stood up.
Mr. Skirpon wasn't going to embarrass us,
I
so
was
thanks for
trying.
doing this.
Congrats.
So welcome board,
Thank you, we're very
congratulations.
excited, thank you.
We're excited as well. So last week, we sent home some communication with regard to our evacuation drill that will take place this Wednesday. We met with local officials to try and do some pre-planning. While we do know that everything may not go well, it's a learning experience for all of us. So we're hoping to come away with some strengths and some areas that we need to improve upon. Please remember, it is an evacuation drill. That means that we may have to leave the school if something does happen for a variety of reasons, water leak, gas leak, all kinds of things. So this is just kind of a continuation of a fire drill, only that we're going off of property for a little bit further. After an evacuation drill, if it's deemed necessary, parents will be given information on where to relocate with their children. So that will be the next step after our evacuation drill is a relocation drill. So we will be leaving Snyder, we will be venturing out on our evacuation drill, and within an hour we hope to return to a regular school day at Snyder. So if you have any questions with regard to that, please feel free to call me in the office and I'd be glad to walk you through that. Next thing on our list is Open Forest this past Saturday. It was a little chillier and a little wetter than usual, but we still had a good time up there. I arrived and was just astounded at how that team took care of that whole situation. Mr. Cole, you were up there as well. There wasn't just one person that was in charge of areas, it was a group of them, and there was not one thing that was overlooked. So we had there was sled dog demonstrations, lots of activities, tractor rides, maple syrup making, pancakes and hot dogs for all to share that were up there. So thank you to everyone that took care of that. If I missed anyone, I apologize, but it was run very well. Kindergarten registration, if you've not already done so, please call and make an appointment with Tammy Shedden for March 17th. If you register, I know there's sometimes some hesitation about, well, do I really want to send them? Do I want to keep them home a year? When you register, that does not mean that you're committing. It just gives us a tentative number to try and plan for the upcoming school year. So please don't feel like you're locked in to having your child come to school. We'd just like to have as much information for planning purposes before we start the school year. So again, Tammy Shedden at the administrative office to make an appointment. Class pictures will be on March 9th. And we have a professional development day upcoming for our staff on the 17th of March, so there'll be no school for students. So, again, kindergarten registration. Please get out there and get those kids registered. We don't want to see an influx of 20 kids 2 weeks before school starts. It's not good for planning purposes when we're trying to get supplies ordered and staff in place. So if you know anybody that needs to come and get an appointment, please call them, send them an email, text them, text me. I walk them out with package to the Walker Circle every day. So I'm drumming up that business for kindergarten registration. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Morrell.
You're welcome.
Question, this Saturday is the 8th grade scholarship challenge?
Nope, it was supposed to be last Saturday, the 4th, and they rescheduled it for the 18th,
On the 18th.
but I don't have a time yet.
Okay. Just to remind parents, as a parent myself, I went to the 9th through 12th grade parents meeting about the new course selection. It was great. Mrs. Ely and Mrs. Schaefer and the rest of the staff did an awesome job, teachers putting all that stuff together. So I hope you get a better turnout for the 8th grade going into 9th grade, because it's really important for those kiddos to know which direction they're gonna go in. So, with that's all I have. Dr. Blythe?
So I'm going to go back to the Director of Student Services. I know Dr. Tejan is under the weather, but she did give me a report before she left at the end of the day today. So she wanted to make sure that the community was updated on the SSIP multi-year grant that we have happening in our school district. Part of that is to reduce dropout rates, and one of the things that the Special Education Department, along with Dr. Tejan and the team from Patan, had come together with was to put a cafe in our lower level. It was the former FCS room, and although there's been supply chain issues and things coming across the U.S. and a couple cabinets that were delivered incorrectly, I was happy to be walking down that hallway today and hearing them in there as they were installing the countertop. So I know that Mrs. Grunza is looking forward to opening that cafe. We will have a ribbon cutting ceremony once that's ready to roll. They have a couple things to finish up on the cabinetry and some the foot plate and such that needs to happen. The appliances are here and in storage, and they'll need to be installed, but they're very excited about that. And then they'll be moving on with SSIP. It's a 5-year grant, and so they'll be adding more things to our high school. So just additional activities and opportunities for our student body. So we're thankful to have that grant money to make those things happen. She then wanted to share and follow up on the MTSS Comprehensive Supports Focus that we have. That's a multi-tiered support system. Again, that grant is going with the IU and Patan as well. And we met with them a couple weeks ago. I want to thank Mr. DeHaan and Mrs. Baird and Mrs. Hunt from the elementary school joining that team and participating. Last time we did a fidelity inventory and ranked where we are in the area of MTSS so that we could write goals and then move forward with an action plan. And we worked a little bit further on that this afternoon. The team from Patan is up this week. They were here today. They came in today. They'll be here tomorrow and then again on Wednesday. So we're appreciative of those funds that we've received through grant money. Dr. Tejan was thrilled to be adding Molly Robinson to the team, and so I was going to introduce you, Mrs. Morrell. Thank you for taking care of that for me. I appreciate that. So that was from Dr. Tejan. And then Mr. Handrick as well for the Director of Student Services. He's working on the March 17th schedule for the professional development and some data analysis that were happening. So for teachers, we have a continuation of letters training for our K-2 teachers and our ESL reading specialists, special educators that will continue that training. That started at the beginning of the year. That actually is a 2-year plan. There's a level 1 and a level 2 process for that. MeWe started in January for grades 3, 4, and 5 with the IU. So that happened for those grade level teachers, and there'll be in-person training happening for that on the 17th. And then Spring Math is a supplemental math resource through Patan. Will be K-8, and so that'll be here on the 17th as well. And then there's some other ancillary meetings that are occurring. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Delosio. For future meetings, we have a technology committee meeting happening March 14th at 5:30 in the admin conference room. And then on March 13th, we have a community relations and wellness meeting at 6:30 in the administration offices. Does anybody have anything else?
Yes, I do. I forgot.
So I'm going to take my principal's hat off and put my parent hat on. So I just like to encourage parents, as the meeting remark reminded me, dual enrollment courses. Those are college credits. So as a mom who has sent one kid through school and another one that's up there now, please consider taking those courses. They're gen ed credits, most of them. They're very easy to transfer. And even if they don't get used right away, they are good for a certain number of years. And even if it helps them lighten their load from taking 18 credits a semester to 12 credits their first year when they're trying to get used to school and all of the new things, it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. My son graduated a year early from school because of those, not all taken here, but in other places. So just something to consider when you see those courses. Please, please, please. It is well worth it, and you'll save some money in the long run.
And I'll add, as a parent, they're a bargain. So I think I spent $300 for a math class for my son Austin, who's in 10th grade for Keystone. And it's a great opportunity that Sarah offers those kids. So yeah, so thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and add on to that. If your child takes a Corning class, the ACE courses, they're free at no cost.
Oh, nice.
Those that we're dual enrolled with Keystone College, a Pennsylvania school, so we have one in New York and one here in PA, they do cost, that you said, it was about $150 per credit, so still much cheaper than going to the school itself.
Right.
Yep.
Right. God bless you.
Bless you.
One last thing. Mrs. Healy.
Yes.
The banking program, have we got any information about that? I hope it's good.
We've had one application turned in. Yeah, the deadline that we put out to students is this Friday.
Okay.
So we might get some more trickling in this week. That's all I can tell you at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great program, too, in the school.
Absolutely. Anyone else? go with
To
that.
adjourn?
I got a motion to adjourn, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second,